We live in a time where masculinity is shamed and men don't know what it means to be a man. As a pastor and counselor, I've spent the better part of my life equipping and training others. My goal with this show is to translate my hard-earned experience into tools and tactics to help you become stronger as a man. This is the BraveCo podcast. I'm your host, Jason Vellet. Hey BraveCo men, I want to tell you about a project that we just finished. It's our Foundations of Masculinity 12 video series that will really help you grow stronger, more confident as a man. Whole bunch of guys are wondering, man, how do I deal with my pain? How do I learn healthy boundaries? How do I lead myself, my family well? How do I become a leader? This course is for you. If you're interested in growing, take 12 weeks out of your life, dig in, do it with a friend, and really up your game. Guys, you can purchase this at braveco.org. Now on to this week's episode. Hey BraveCo men, this is part 2 of the Q&A session from the School of Relational Health that I did for the Transformation Center. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these. Have a great week.
Okay, somebody's asked, how would you define abuse in relationship with self or others? If you identify that there is a pattern of abuse, what does the journey look like to break free from it?
Yeah. How do you define abuse?
It's interesting that they've asked with yourself or with others, like self-abuse.
There's going to be lots of levels, right? Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a person in counseling yesterday, and I said, how much emotional abuse does it take to give you permission to leave a marriage? How much infidelity does God go like, oh, now you're allowed to leave? Like you reached level 10 infidelity. Like how much physical abuse is it like, oh, now you're allowed to leave? Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's anything that causes harm or damage to your mind, will, emotions, body. You know, we start to get into like, this is just like a really crude, simple abuse. But how much starts to be, to me, that's the real question is, you know, it starts to like, when I set healthy boundaries, right? So you could abuse me in our relationship. Like, and what would that look like? It would look like you having a really bad day and you saying something to me like, you just don't listen to anybody. You're not a great listener and you're not a great friend, like out of anger, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you just brought pain. Like you just pained me. You just brought some pain. And here's the thing about pain. Your emotions can't tell the difference between physical pain and emotional pain.
Yeah. So interesting.
Ooh. So it'd be the same as if you walked up and you just punched me in the nose.
It's crazy.
We would categorize that as like, that's assault.
That is bad, yeah.
So when you come to me and you say like, well, you just don't do a good job with anybody. Well, tell me that nobody on here has never shamed somebody.
Right.
You have. Right. Now, when I go, hey, hold on. Are you okay? Tell me about what's going on inside of you, right? Because I'm going to do like level 10 communication. I'm not even going to tell you how much that hurt me yet. I'm going to say, wait, hold on. What's going on inside of you? And you're going to go, oh, I just feel really angry right now. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to set some boundaries. I'm going to use good communication. When you are unable to clean up your mess, to repent, right? To turn and go the other way, which repent isn't, I'm sorry, it's to turn and go the other way. When you're unable to repent, now we start having harder conversations around how long do I have this relationship? Yeah. What does our relationship need to be? Right. You know, husband and wife, how much? Absolutely, my wife has 100% absolutely shamed me. 100%, and I have her too.
Right.
I mean, she turned and put her foot on my butt and kicked me out of the car one time. Mid-pregnancy.
I remember this story, yeah.
Mid-prayer meeting morning, like getting ready to go to prayer meeting Sunday morning. Yeah, she pushed me out of the, whoa. Now, did it physically hurt? No, like I'm freaking 195 pounds of solid steel and
muscle.
Sex appeal to her.
Okay.
Did it emotionally hurt me? A little bit. Did she clean up her mess? Oh, man. Really good. Really good. And figure out why she did that. So to me, I don't even remember the full question, but I think it gets back to you have to learn how to share your needs. Allie, when you're talking to me like that, wow, I feel a ton of pain. Because it doesn't give me permission to use my pain to cause you pain.
Yeah.
So I could come over here and go like, whoa! Well, now I'm an abuser.
Right.
So I have to be able to restrain my strength. And I'm a big guy. I have a lot of muscle compared to you. And it's true. So I could use that, justifying it. Like you punched me in the nose, I slapped her in the face.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm probably more the abuser than you are. So I think we have to use healthy boundaries. You have to be able to restrain yourself really good. And you have to be able to explain what you need.
Yeah.
And communicate well. Those are all things that we learn. Those are learned skills, learned tools that there's no way to do it except for to practice just a ton.
Right.
A ton.
Yeah.
So with a narcissistic person, you have to use relentless boundaries.
Right.
Relentless.
Right.
And do it with a happy heart.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's the tough part.
It's hard. It's like tapping into compassion.
Oh, it's tapping into a lot.
Okay, lots of things. Oh, my question just went away. Let's see.
Don't worry.
We got lots more. So, how do we overcome trying to work for someone else's approval or connection by doing too much, but realizing your own needs are not being met in the process? In other words, the connection/friendships are mostly one-sided.
Yeah. Well, we're going back to probably our childhood and or your makeup or both. So I am a high pleaser. Am I a high pleaser because my childhood was jacked up? No. I was built that way, which when I take a personality test, it says, how pleasing is this person? I'm 100% on the personality test, which makes me a
Wow.
great counselor, right? Because I want to help you.
Yeah.
I'm invested in it. Like you tell me, if I get like 2 sentences into your story, if you start it, I'm like, shoot, now I want to help him so bad. and it's just how I'm built. I'm wired that way. I'm wired to like crave doing this with you. The unhealthy me, I do it for you,
Ah, interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Because I like it. I want to better your life. Now, Lauren is a very low pleaser. Which doesn't mean that she doesn't want to help people. It means that Lauren has a very easy time sharing her needs, sharing what she really wants, what she thinks, not me.
Really?
Really hard time. Like this is like a skill that I had to master because I don't want people, I want to help so much that I just want to focus on you. Not even in a bad way. I just, inside of my core, I just genuinely believe that if we just focus on you, it will be awesome. And that you'll somehow think about me. It doesn't really work. And she goes, man, he really wants to know about me. And I want to process my day with him.
Yeah.
And then I want to tell him what I need. I don't, of course he wants to meet my need. Now, she's not narcissistic in it, but she has a lot harder time with me giving her feedback or criticism.
Yeah.
So, do you have any others between? Oh, sorry. How do we try work? So approval. So,
Yeah.
it can just simply be your personality type. Is part of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now, also, your insecurity, right? You grew up in a home where you didn't believe that you're worth stuff, so you're not worthy. You don't believe that you're actually worthy. It's my dad's story. My dad believed that he wasn't worthy of love, that he wasn't worthy of affection.
Yeah.
And so, you grow up, and if you have parents that you could never please, you grow up, you spend your whole entire life trying to please them.
Right.
I'm working for love instead of from love. So here's the thing. Here's the litmus test. If I'm doing this so you will like me, so you will approve of me,
Yeah.
I am working for love,
Yeah.
not from love. If you're doing it because this is what you love. No one has to tell me in the morning. Really try hard when answering these Q&A questions. I want to help people.
Right.
Like, I want to stay on here and just like, okay,
Answer everyone's
what's another? Yeah. And I want them to like it because I just want to give you the most tools I can.
Yes.
No one has to tell me to do that.
Right.
It's built into me. I'm not even thinking, I hope they like me because I'm going to get more followers out. Like, I already got your money. I already got you on in. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's not much more out of it.
Totally.
And so I think you have to check yourself with insecurity. So insecurity would be when we start to get insecure, we start working for
love versus from it.
and from love. Yeah. And everybody gets to that spot. And if you don't think that you will, or you do, you just haven't met somebody that inspires you enough that you're afraid, that you really want them to like you. Like, I'll feel like, oh, I've really got this nipped in the bud. I go spend a day with John Eldridge and I'm like, oh God, I want him to like me a lot. And And I'm just like, oh, that's normal. I don't even shame myself for that.
Right.
I just go, that's really normal. He's a hero in my life. I want a hero to think awesome of me. I just have to check my insecurity.
Totally.
Or I'm not being authentic.
Because I'm trying to get him to like me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's profound. Okay, somebody's asked, do you have any tips about navigating the difference between inner triggers and discernment? Like, when is my discernment telling me to drop it, and when is my pain telling me to run away when I actually need to press in?
Yeah. Suspicion would be another word.
To discernment?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm just so suspicious. So, if there's judgment involved, if you lack compassion, if you're not filled with hope. So, suspicion says, I think Allie's doing that because she just wants it to be her way. And what does that have in it? It has tons of judgment. And what does it not have? It doesn't have any compassion. I don't see your life from your point of view at all. I just see it from this discerning point of view. I don't even see it from God's point of view, right? Because from God's point of view, there's hope involved. There's a solution involved.
Right.
There's real understanding, and I probably play a part in it.
Yeah.
But most people's discernment doesn't have any hope. It doesn't have any compassion, and they don't have any part in it.
Right. It's evil.
It's evil. Yeah. Run. So Daniel looks at Nebuchadnezzar, who's a wicked king,
Right.
and he's got solutions. He's got some discernment, but his discernment goes like, oh, king, God's going to cut you down. Like, he gave you that dream. That's really what happened, right? God's going to cut you down and turn you over to your enemies. I wish this dream was for somebody else, for some other wicked king.
Right.
Like, holy crap.
Right.
Okay, perfect example. Case in point. Real discernment. Okay, so a trigger. Let's talk about triggers.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm like so into this. I'm sweating. I'm so into this.
Good.
Triggers manifest in your body a lot.
Yeah.
So you get triggered. I start feeling angry, or I start feeling maybe I get triggered and I start feeling sexual. I get triggered and I start feeling sad. I get triggered and I start to want to reject the people around me. And usually you can see a pattern in your life. Like, you guys should know your triggers.
Yeah.
At least most of them.
Yeah.
You should understand them.
Yeah.
And it's not that you won't ever get triggered outside of that, but you should really understand, because you've been alive for a long time. So you should know your story. You should map out your highs and your lows about your life and what your life was, and how, why you felt anxiety and why you feel these cycles and what your cycle is, and understand it, so that when I'm around you and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I'm experiencing some lust. It must be her. It must be her lust. It must be like, that's what we do in the church. We're like, oh, I'm feeling lust. It's this person over here.
Yeah. I'm a
It's
feeler.
like, well, you're probably not a feeler. You probably have tons of triggers
So interesting.
that you've never addressed.
Yeah.
And you just blame it on everyone around you.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier than taking ownership. But here's the thing. When you find a trigger inside of you and it's really yours, it's so great. It's the best day because you can take 100% ownership of that and affect 100% of it.
Right.
So like, guys, you don't have to walk around feeling desperate or horny or sexually aroused or whatever the right word is for it. Like, that's a part of your normal biology and psychology. Like, that's part of your normal makeup. But the flip side is, like, you can really do something about that. Or you don't have to walk around feeling angry all day long and being like, oh, it's because the spirit of anger is in the room. Like, probably if that happens to you a lot, it's probably you.
Wow.
Like, you're not that important for the enemy to follow you around all day long and just trigger you all day. It's probably yours.
Yeah. Wow. That's profound. I feel like we talk about triggers a lot. I don't know. And today it's a hot topic, but it's often,
so hot,
but it feels like, oh gosh, triggers like this horrible thing. But this feels so hopeful. Like, I'm like, oh,
it's so
if
simple.
it's mine, then
like,
I can control this. I can take ownership of this. And
like the triggers are so simple, guys.
Yeah.
Because you just sit down and go like, what happened? Why did that happen? Where did it come from? What's my history with that? What do I need to do about it? How am I going to recognize it next time?
Right. You don't have to keep living with that. Whatever it makes you feel.
No.
Yeah.
Like, set some alarms. Do I need to go get a little counseling? Do I need to, right? Like, invest in yourself. You're your best investment. So a lot of people are like trying to solve this stuff with triggers and relationships. And I'm like, invest $300 in yourself. Go do 3 appointments and like be the best $300 you ever spent. And then somebody helps you map it out for yourself. You get a professional opinion. Like, if you've been struggling with something for longer than a year, golly, you probably would already fix it yourself.
If you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, triggers anything. Like, we're making this stuff way too hard.
Right. Oh, that's really good.
And at the same time, like, it can be complicated. I don't have
Right.
no compassion for that.
Right.
But-
That feels really hopeful.
Yeah.
Okay. This person's asked, what's the difference between self-protection and self-control, regulating emotions? How do you recommend leaning into pain to get past self-protection?
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between self-protection and self-control?
Yeah.
Well, self-protection, like, I'm getting into, I am deeming that something is harmful. I'm assessing that, when I'm wrestling with Edie, there's nothing in me that's self-protecting.
Right. Right.
Like, she can't hurt me.
Right.
What am I using? Self-control. I'm restraining my strength. So if I'm throwing her up in the air, I'm not throwing her up as hard as I can. If I'm wrestling, I'm not going as hard as I can.
Yeah.
If I'm wrestling somebody on the street, they don't have my best interest in mind. It's self-protection.
Right.
I'm going as hard as I can.
Right.
If I'm wrestling with my boys,
A little different.
I'm trying to figure out, are we doing this for fun? Or are you trying to test yourself against me? Because one is self-protection and the other is self-control.
Yeah.
If Elijah, who's strong, freaking so strong, is going to wrestle me, it's self-protection. I'm not trying to hurt him. I'm just trying to win.
Yeah.
But I'm also making sure that he doesn't hurt me because he's strong. So I might have to use some boundaries in that with him. Like, hey, you're angry. I'm done.
Yeah.
That would be self-protection. At the same time, like, I'm gonna control myself. So to me, it's like they're in a little bit different categories. They're not necessarily in the same category, self-protection and self-control, because oftentimes self-control to me is rallied around me managing what I'm feeling and doing, me managing my emotions. And self-protection typically rallies around me not letting something harm me or hurt me. And I could act out, like I could inflict pain on somebody that was trying to hurt me. So you could say like that's self-management, but not fully. So when you're regulating your emotions, here's the thing. Like, I just did a really good podcast on this.
Yeah.
With Margaret Nagib on BraveCo. So you can go to BraveCo, Like anywhere
Podcast?
where BraveCo podcast, I just did a whole topic on regulating your emotions and anxiety.
Yeah.
Regulating your emotions, you're understanding your story. You're understanding where you got triggered, why you got triggered, what happened. And you're starting to go like, okay, you're starting to label it like, oh, this feeling that I'm having right now is anger. Hi, anger. I see you. I don't have to hide from you. I don't have to pretend that you're there. I see you. I begin to process that. Maybe I breathe. Maybe I hit a pillow. Maybe or anxiety. Like maybe I don't run from anxiety. I just go like, oh, there you are. You're just an emotion that I feel. And in 19 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds, like you'll go away. Okay, there's that emotion starting to go away. It was just anxiety. I recognize, I relabel, and I refocus.
That's good.
And by refocusing, I have a plan for my anxiety. I have a plan for my negative emotion. I have a plan for, so regulating my emotions, I feel a bunch of pain. I could go, I feel sadness. I could go recognize that I'm feeling sad. Because John Tyson said it best. He said, oftentimes men's anger, their violence, is really sadness disguised.
Yeah.
So when we recognize like, oh, I'm feeling sadness.
Yeah.
Okay, now what am I going to do to regulate that?
Right.
I'm going to go process my emotions.
Yeah.
I need someone to talk to. So that would be the process.
Oh, that's really good. So good.
Yeah.
Someone's asked, how do I overcome disagreements with my spouse when there is a repetitive cycle or disagreements that lead to distance? Apology and forgiveness doesn't happen on their end.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with a disagreement.
Right.
What's the chances, Ali, that you and I, as much as we love each other, as much as we have in common, even with our upbringings in Western America, and that we're going to agree on everything?
I mean, we won't.
We won't. So if we make our goal agreement instead of connection,
It's impossible.
we're in trouble.
Right.
And how much more with a spouse? Like if Lauren and I make our goal agreement, I need you to see what I'm saying, the way that I'm saying it, and agree that I'm right. Well, now I have to bring in manipulation. I have to bring in control.
Yeah.
I have to bring in all this witchcraft because I have to somehow get you, or you have to get me to see you in order for us to be in agreement.
Right.
And
hard.
yeah, and so you're just never going to do it. And a lot of people make their goal agreement, or they make their goal in their home peace. Like the goal with my wife is I just want to have a peaceful relationship with her. Well, that's roommates. I mean, that's what I have with Airbnb people that rent my upper room.
Right.
Like it's peaceful. Because if it's not peaceful, I will do something to make it peaceful.
Right.
I'll call the cops.
Right.
I'll aim my guns at you. I will do whatever I have to do to create peace. So you can understand how in a relationship, it becomes very manipulative, becomes very scary. We become distant.
Right.
So how you overcome disagreements with your spouse is you learn how to communicate well, and you don't make the goal agreeing.
Good.
John Gottman, the John Gottman Institute, which you guys should look it up if you're having disagreements, says that 60% of all the things that we perpetually argue about, I believe it's 60% or higher, is unsolvable. You can't actually solve it.
Wow.
And the Gottman Institute, they do tons of research,
Yeah.
live research. They hook couples up to wires and probes and they make them argue. And so the arguing isn't the problem. The couples who disagree passionately is not the problem. The problem is how you treat one another.
That's good.
The problem is what you're making your goal. So Lauren and I don't even agree on how we raise our kids totally. She doesn't disrespect me. She doesn't undermine me. She's not resentful. She works hard to understand that I could describe a phone as something that has a bright screen and says 1225, and you can describe something as a phone that is something totally different.
Right.
And I could understand that the experience that I'm having and the experience that you're having it can be totally right from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So is the goal to agree, or is the goal to problem solve Okay, how do we problem solve then if you agree that finances should be spent this way and I think they should be spent this way? How do we come to an ultimate solution? How do we find a win-win?
Yeah.
So you guys are making agreement the goal, and you're going to have to do a lot of work on your communication. So, which I'm not going to go into that right now. If people ask me, like, how do we communicate good in a relationship? I'll go over it. But I'm not going to do that. Danny Silk has incredible tools for this. The communication dance, he's got a whole bunch of tools for this. I would really encourage you to get that. I would encourage you to get the Boundaries book and understand those. I would encourage you to, do some research with the Gottman Institute. The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work is a book that I've studied and read from the Gottman Institute. Incredible.
Yeah.
So hopefully I did that enough justice.
Yeah, that's great. That's good.
I've used you for every example. They're just like, oh man, I wish he would leave her alone. She must feel so horrible today.
I don't. It's great. Let's see. This person's asked, how can we continue/restore connection in a ministry when trying to implement new tools that the head leadership doesn't agree with?
So here's the thing, is more is caught through our actions than what we teach.
It's really good.
And when it's hard, like you got to play the end game. So I am trying to teach through actions before I'm teaching through words.
It's really good.
My kids, and okay, if I'm you, I'm trying to gain leadership in people's lives through permission. So, for instance, I hired my assistant over here. Her name's Kelsey. She's incredible. Kelsey will do what I'm telling her to do because I pay her. And I could tell Kelsey, hey, I want you to do my schedule this way. And if you don't, I'll fire you. Well, John Maxwell calls that the first level of leadership. It's positional.
Yeah.
Now, the next level of leadership, which that's not bad. You have to have a ground point.
Right.
And at first, when Kelsey and I or anybody, if I hire someone, at first they're going to do what I say because I'm the guy that hired them.
Right. You're their boss.
The next level of leadership is positional. Now, what's that mean? If Kelsey's going through a hard day or a hard time maybe with her marriage or just wants some advice, she'll call me because I have gained a place of permission, of influence in her life. She's not calling me because I pay her. She's calling me because she believes that I care for her, I care for her husband, I care for their overall outcome in life, and I have the tools or I'm a good person to process with, I'm safe. So a lot of times we want people to know and to follow us and to do what we say because we know. And if you just did what I said, that's parents with kids. It's like, God, if you just do what I said, you wouldn't be in this stupid mess. Well, here's the thing. They're your kids, but you don't even have permission in their life.
Yeah.
Because instead of seeing the leader in them, you're always talking to the loser in them. And whatever you talk to, that's what they'll become. And so they believe that you think that they're a loser. They don't believe that you think that they're a leader. And am I guilty of this in different areas? Absolutely. Have I done this with my kids? For sure.
Yeah.
The goal is to work your way into deeper levels of permissional leadership in people's lives.
It's so good.
And when I can do that, and I can build trust through repeated success in my dad's life, in Dan's life, in Bill's life, in Brian Johnson's life, and I'm going through our senior leadership team.
Yeah.
When I can go through repeated success so they look at my life and they go, ooh, he ran the transformation center good. Ooh, he ran his own life good. Oh, he's got great history over here. When I say, hey, I think we should really look at this.
Yeah.
They think through it. He's got a track record.
Right. You've built trust. I think it's a quote that Papa says, but he says, a prince can make a prison a palace.
Yeah.
Like you can step
Story
in.
of Joseph.
Yes, but you can step into situations and just who you are begins to transform.
And it's a bummer that we have to stop in half an hour.
I know.
This time's just
we could
flying.
just keep going and going. It's so fun.
If only we had snacks. Do you know what I mean? You and me.
I know. Can we get some snacks?
Kelsey, give me some snacks right now.
Because you pay her, she'll do it, right?
Yeah. She probably would. She would. Okay, here we go.
This person has asked, what advice do you have to help one having healthy boundaries with work in a culture where no overtime exists, but the workload is just too high to accomplish everything within work hours?
Yeah. Sorry, you were reading that, and I was thinking through my podcast while you were reading this at the same time.
You got distracted.
Yeah, I got. What advice do you have to help one have healthy boundaries with work in a culture where no overtime exists? Kelsey, is this you? But the workload is just too high to accomplish everything within work hours. You could just put love Kelsey.
Love Kelsey. That's incredible.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Read the Boundaries book. They actually have boundaries for work. It'd be a great place to start, right? Because sometimes people come, like I'm a boss, and I've led things from firefighting, bunches of firefighters to, BraveCo or 501c3 for men, nonprofit for men, which, by the way, if you guys are listen, if there's men there that are looking for some real discipleship in your life, check out BraveCo.
Yeah.
And people at the Transformation Center, right? Like we lead big teams. And so sometimes what I expect my workers to do, I just did this last week. Like what I expected them to do and what they really could do, two different things.
Yeah. Different expectations or different ideas.
Yeah. And so what I loved is I was able to explain to them like, hey guys, I think Eric, who's my CEO, and we sat everyone down and we said, hey, let's look at what we accomplished this week, and we're doing like an after action review. And Eric and myself were like, hey, we feel a little bit frustrated. Maybe we're not doing a great job leading well. Maybe we didn't do a great job with communicating our expectations.
Yeah.
But we didn't hit our mark, and we didn't hit our mark by a long shot. It's just a timeline.
Yeah.
And they came back and went like, hey, totally, but look at all these things. Like, it was unrealistic.
Right.
And so that's on me, right? So sometimes I think as a worker, ask your boss if you can do an after-action review.
Yeah, give some feedback.
Give some feedback. Ask if you can, ask them for some solutions.
Yeah.
Right? When an employee comes to me, when Kelsey comes to me and she says, you want me to do this? And I'm like, yeah, totally. But this is also what's on my plate.
Yeah.
And this too. Which one would you like me to do?
Yeah. What do you want me to prioritize?
It's awesome because I feel like I'm not mad at her for not doing this. I'm the one that said, okay, don't do this and do this, and it makes me powerful.
Yeah, and then you're both on the same page and have
win-win.
the same expectations. Yeah.
And so now if they say, well, I think you should just get it all done, then that's where you have to go, hey, listen, I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can. Kelsey could go, hey, I just can't do all of this.
Yeah.
It's just not me. Maybe you need somebody that can. And you have to be okay with that. Because here's the thing. In order to live a healthy, whole life, you have to be okay with the people around you not being okay with what you can really do.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you're going to have to manipulate everyone. You're going to have to live an unauthentic life. Like, this is really who I am. Somebody might be able to handle that workload. You just can't. Just be okay with it. There's lots of jobs out there. There's lots of places but you don't love your life and they don't love your life when you try to fake it and you try to live up to an expectation that you can't fulfill. So read the Boundaries book, invite them into the process, do an after action reviews, ask them which thing they'd like you to put down. If you're still not enough for them, you're just not enough for them. It's not a commentary on you.
Yeah, that's really
It's just
good.
a commentary on the job, and it's a commentary on what they want, and it's a commentary on the systems.
fit.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
I feel like jobs can feel so high stakes.
Solid advice today.
Yes, solid. You've been killing it. I don't even know how many
I'm just
questions
kidding.
we've gone through.
I'm joking.
So many. I was like, 2 hours. Can you do this? I mean, rocking it. Okay.
We're loving this.
This person asked, my 20-year-old son has a great life, but he admits he's sad. He's hesitant going to a counselor, and his blood work came back normal. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah. It's normal to be hesitant going to a counselor.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Your first time, you're like, what do I expect?
It's all good. I would just go, oh, that's really normal. What do you think is going to happen at the counselor? Like, we're afraid that they're going to find something wrong with us, you know? Would you be afraid, okay, if your car only does 75 miles an hour, right now, for starters, how many of you would be okay with your car only going 75 miles an hour? It's a really interesting question, right? Does anybody actually need their car to go faster? Why? I mean, you're breaking the law, right?
Right.
You drive 80 miles an hour, you're breaking the law. Okay, but I still wouldn't be okay with my car driving 75 miles an hour. So would I not take that to a specialist to get it to go 110? I 100% would, and I wouldn't be afraid to do it. Somehow, culture has put this weird pressure, this weird unspoken like weirdness around counseling or coaching.
Yeah, there's like a stigma.
Yeah, the stigma, thanks. That says like, something's wrong with you. If you're like, okay, but you're just talking to somebody who knows how to make your car go 150.
Yeah.
No factor, no problem. Let's do that. So, but here's the other thing. In today's day and age, we start to look at like what makes people happy. Well, why would your son, you say he has a great life. I wish I could talk to this person, but why should he think he has a great life?
That's a good question.
Because maybe he doesn't have enough conflict in his life. Maybe he doesn't have enough weight on his shoulders. Maybe your son doesn't have enough responsibility. Because here's the thing. Responsibility gives us purpose. And when we remove the responsibility and the weight from our kids' lives, and then we go, well, you have a great life.
Right.
You don't have to do anything.
I don't feel powerful.
And you don't have anything you're proud of.
Right.
Like my son's got a great life, and I'm not mocking you. I'm literally saying like, this is what we do. We go like, my son's got a great life. He can play video games all day. He can go to his friends whenever he wants to. But he's 20 years old. So he's looking at everyone else's life going, and not knowingly, he's going like, wow, they have responsibility. They're important people. They have weight. Somebody's counting on them. They have confidence. My question to you is, does your son have confidence in his self? Does he have confidence in his abilities? And you only gain confidence through doing. You can gain courage by me encouraging you, but you can't gain confidence in yourself, so maybe he's not confident in himself. And if you're not confident in yourself, then you don't risk it all. And where's the reward if you don't have any risk in your life? And where's the real satisfaction in life when you don't actually have any real rewards in your life except for artificial rewards?
Yeah.
Which come from TV screens and energy drinks and stuff that you didn't have to work for. So my thing is like, do a better assessment. First, let's do a real assessment. Is your son working? And is he working hard? Is he doing something that he feels proud of? And is he being challenged? And does he have real responsibility in his life? There's a scripture, gosh, I wish I was really more prepared, because there's a scripture that talks about every man needs to bear his own load. Every man was supposed to carry his own load, but you were never supposed to carry a burden on your own. And that's where it becomes too much. How much is too much? When a burden, if you look at that word burden in the Bible, a burden is something that you should only be carried with somebody else because it will hurt you if you carry it alone.
Wow.
It's profound.
That's really
So
profound.
Elijah, her husband, he's 22. He should have something that's challenging him. Something that when he wakes up, he goes, I don't know if I can do that, but my past history says I can if I try really hard. And then he's needing courage from the people around him to go like, dude, you got this, try it, do it. And he's feeling like, and then he's got to have something that's attached to purpose. Because you can have all the healthy blood work and all the healthy dopamine in your life, but it's not healthy blood that makes us feel like this life is awesome. Eventually, you're climbing the ladders of why people work, why people live, why people feel like life matters. It's because I have an influence and I have purpose and I'm needed and we have lost almost all of that in our culture today.
Yeah.
It's
the easy
almost
way, yeah.
all stripped away.
Yeah.
We want easy. We want, and God didn't design us for that. So that's not how we're made.
That's really profound.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay. This person's asked, I'm a caregiver for special needs children,
Awesome.
for special needs children in homes.
Yeah.
What's a healthy way to advise parents who have unhealthy parenting techniques?
Yeah. So you can do it very suggestive. So maybe even talking to the organization that you work for and going, hey, there's a couple of parenting courses that I think are awesome. What if I could get a discount to them and give it to anybody who's in our organization that wants to, like anybody, any
that
parents
wants
who
to
are part of this, right?
participate.
Yeah, like I know that if you called Danny Silk and said, hey, I'm so-and-so, and this is what I do, can I get a 10% discount code?
Yeah.
Like the chances that he would go, yeah, pretty high.
Yeah.
And then, but here's what that enables you to do. You can now send an email, or you can tell all of your clients, parents, hey, we have this program that's awesome,
Yeah.
that gives you 10% off. We're not even making any money from it because we believe in it.
Right.
And we're not assuming that you don't know how to parent. We try to equip our parents with the best tools possible, because how could you know how to care for your special needs kids unless you were trained?
Right.
So you take the shame off of it, right? Like you send an email, or you learn how to say, and this is what we should do for marriages. And this, like, how could you know how to raise kids
I know. Yeah.
unless you learned?
Right.
You shouldn't know how to raise kids.
Right.
And you shouldn't know how to. So you take all the shame off of it so they're willing to buy into it, because what they hear most of the time is, shame on you, you should. And they don't want to buy into it because they're having to admit that they're not good.
Right.
Instead of go, oh, want to upgrade? You want to upgrade your skills in parenting? Want to go to the next level? Want to, and it's just another way to inspire people.
Yeah.
So,
that is great.
yeah.
I love that. This person's asked, is there a point a person can reach a total inner healing? Or am I just operating in a mindset of perfectionism?
Yes, you are.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
You'll continually be on a healing journey. Is that right?
Yeah, you're going to.
Okay.
You're going to. There's no way to measure it, for starters. Like, how do you quantify that?
I know.
Like,
I think that's why sometimes it feels so out here.
it is so out there.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I need no more healing.
Yeah.
You're not. None of us are going to be Jesus. And so to aspire to be perfect is probably, coming out of our perfectionism. Like, if I'm perfect, then I won't have to work on anything. Here's the thing. You're going to go through so much stuff in your life
Right.
where you're going to get wounded. You're going to get disappointed. You're going to make mistakes. And if you're like, man, I've got this all together, like I'm at the pinnacle, it's only because you're not in it. Like, you're living a very safe life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, everyone thinks they're good at relationship until they get married. And then they think that they're really good at leading themselves and managing themselves and leading people until they have kids. And then you think that you're great at communication and like until your kids started getting older. And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm scared. And I'm,
Always a continual
oh my
hurdle.
gosh, man.
Another obstacle.
Yeah. So, nah,
Yeah.
just keep going, man. It's a journey.
It's good. Okay, we are flying through these questions now. Somebody's asked, how do you reiterate someone who is not keeping their love on, who doesn't want to work on themselves? How do you set boundaries but stay open for connection someday? What does that look like?
Okay.
I feel like we've touched on boundaries a bit,
Yeah.
but keeping your love on, we haven't talked too much about.
Here's the thing. Like, I've got rules, so I won't work harder on someone's stuff than they will. Even my kids, especially the older ones.
Yeah.
So my son, Evan, not going to work harder on it than he is. He's 17.
Yeah.
So he needs to feel the pain of not working hard.
Right.
That's been tough as a counselor. That's been tough as someone who loves helping people. I'm just like, ugh.
Who wants to fix it for him?
But
Yeah.
here's the truth. If I start working harder, eventually I'm going to become resentful because he doesn't value it and he doesn't know how to sacrifice to the level that it needs to be valued and sacrificed in order to get the results that need to be done. So I'm going to be like, I'm working so hard. So if you're ever like doing that with your kids, like, I'm working so hard and you're not doing it, it's like, you're probably taking too much responsibility. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have to have consequences.
Right.
You're just owning their problem more than they are.
Yeah.
Get Danny Silk. Yeah, you are, and here's the thing. Most of the time, it's because I have a dependent or codependent relationship. Oh, dang. Walk it off, guys. Just walk it off. No big deal, right? Read the book. Here's another tip. Codependent no more. We're just throwing out tools and tips
So many
today.
books to read.
How do you keep your love on? Well, if you're not dependent or codependent on them, then you don't have to, you don't have to get resentful when they're not doing it.
Yeah.
You also understand that you've been there before. So you come with a little bit of compassion and understanding and realize, like, man, how long did I walk this way and didn't want to work on my stuff? Like, ask yourself this. What things in your life are you procrastinating that you know you could be better at if you just would do them?
Yeah.
And then when you look at the other person who's not doing what they should be doing, you're also looking at yourself. Jesus said it like this, like, don't complain about the speck in someone else's eye when you've got the log in your eye.
Yeah.
It's like, how many of us could be in better physical shape if we had a gun to our head?
Right.
How many of us could be better off financially if we had a gun to our head? How many of us I could be a better husband with a gun to my head? Like, if I had to or I'd die,
Right.
I could.
Right.
Like, you could be a better wife. You could be more compassionate. If it was like, if you don't, you're gonna. So a lot of us procrastinate. A lot of us go, I'm good enough. It just doesn't look as bad as theirs.
Right.
You're like, oh, I can't believe that guy's homeless and he's doing drugs. And it's like, well, you're not living up to your full potential.
Yeah.
All right.
That's good.
Yeah. We got 12 minutes
We
left.
have 12 minutes. Okay. This person's asked, this is going back to boundaries. And when we decide, okay, at what point is it okay to cut off a relationship with a family member if they have refused to take responsibility for their actions and they think your boundaries are dishonoring and disrespectful? That's so hard. Honestly, I feel like I still have questions about this, but having boundaries with somebody that doesn't have boundaries, it's challenging. It's challenging.
My best answer for this is like, read the boundaries book. Again, honestly,
Yeah.
you only got to read to like page 89 and to really start to understand this stuff and then practice it. Like, it's going to be hard to go like, here's the level. It's like this. I don't need you to agree with me that your lack of boundaries is really painful. I just have to agree with me that I don't want to live in a relationship like this.
Yeah.
I just don't. So, maybe they had parents that they go like, well, you should have seen how I grew up. Well, yeah, I wouldn't have done that either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do this.
Right.
And I won't do this. So, what can you stand before God and go, I loved well.
Yeah.
I loved me well. I love my family well. I loved well, God. Because it's more about the heart than it is the timing.
It's good.
The timing's like, because so many people have different capacities. So somebody's got a giant capacity for somebody else's dysfunction. Like, I have a much larger capacity for dysfunction than my wife, Lauren.
Yeah.
I can handle someone's dysfunction way more.
Yeah.
I'm like built for it. I'm kind of a tank.
Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't bother me so much. Whereas she, not so much.
Yeah.
So she's going to go, oh, boundary. Much quicker than I'm going to go boundary, another boundary, she's going to go boundary, boundary. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm going to go like boundary, 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 brave communication, boundary. Like, well, you're getting stronger pushing through those boundaries. Like, you know what I mean? It's just how I'm made.
Yeah.
So, you have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
And they're going to think, everyone who can't handle your boundaries is going to think you're being dishonoring and disrespectful, whatever.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah. Cry me a river.
Okay. Someone asked, how can I begin to recognize what is going on in my life that keeps me stuck in cycles?
Great. Yeah. So if you've been stuck in cycles for a long time, again, I'm going back to my original advice, like get a counselor to help you. So what we do at BraveCo is we have a 12-month discipleship course, and one 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So 12 whole weeks, 3 months is understanding your past. Where did you come from? What did you learn growing up? What were the highs and the lows? Now, where are you at today?
Yeah.
Then mapping out your cycle. So you got to understand and learn cycles, which is like you have to know your triggers. So you start to map out, like, when I was born, my parents were like this. Were you loved? Were you not loved? What were they like? And what were the lessons that you learned? And what were the bad things that happened? And what were the good things that happened? Okay. And what medicating came out of that?
Yeah.
Like, when did you start using drugs? Or when did you start masturbating? Or when did you start overeating? And you start to notice these patterns in your life, right? Like, mom wasn't around. She'd always come home late, and I'd have lots of anxiety. And so I started to eat. And the more I ate, the more it comforted me. But then I started to feel fat and really insecure. And I'd eat to do that. And so then you just start to understand. And you go like, okay, these are the triggers. The 12-week course. It's for men, right? So
I know.
So you can go to braveco.org if you want that course, guys, for men. And actually, I'm going to pitch it.
Go for it.
We just did a Foundations for Masculinity, which is our 12-week course for anybody can buy it, men or women, but it's for men.
Okay.
Foundations for Masculinity, or of Masculinity. It's our 12-week course. You can go to braveco.org and purchase that. So we have two courses. One's a 12-month, a year-long course with full discipleship. You get me doing Q&A every single week like this.
But it's just for men.
Just for men.
But the 12-week one, women can purchase that.
They can purchase it. We don't check, But and they get access to our private Facebook page and stuff like that.
Okay.
So ladies, like for your man, there's no better thing. Yeah. Okay. So, but recognizing cycles is, to me, is a process of understanding your story. Understanding your story, because you have to understand your story, because your story also paints a beautiful picture of your future. I mean, it really does. It's math. It is math. You do this, your parents did this, they raised you like this. It's 1 + 2 = 3. You're acting out here.
Yeah.
So, and then, it's just a whole nother story of how to get out of cycles, right? Because you have to break shame, and you have to you have to acknowledge the triggers, and you have to have an answer for the triggers, and it's a whole entire deal. That's why it's like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great. Does that feel good? You feel like you concluded the
I would need like
way more time.
It's way more time.
Totally. Okay, next question. This person is asking, how do you get a 21-year-old son that wants to get unstuck? I'm assuming
if he wants to get unstuck.
Yeah.
Okay. There's I would say invest in him.
What does that look like?
Or have him invest in himself. He needs someone that can take him on the journey. And if you're asking this question, see, great friends don't always make great guides. Great guides make great guides. One of the biggest mistakes that we make is we put good friends in a guide spot and we stay the same forever. But if you really want to get to some place in your life, you have to put a guide there. If you want to get free of debt, put a good guide there. Because if your parents have debt, there might be a great place to talk about, but they're probably not a great place, like an awesome place to
learn
finances from.
Yeah.
So get a guide. Now, to the level that you are willing to sacrifice monetarily, time, emotionally, that's the level of breakthrough that you're going to get.
Yeah.
So if you eat, breathe, sleep, Dave Ramsey, you're going to eventually mimic that.
Right.
If you eat, sleep, breathe, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you're eventually going to mimic that. You fly out to these conferences, you do this thing,
Right.
you're eventually going to mimic that to your capacity. Your son or your friend, or yourself who wants to get unstuck in an area, anybody can get free of porn. Anybody can have a great marriage. Anybody, honest to God, unless you have like a real bad disorder.
Yeah.
It's just, are you willing to pay the price? But here, let me say this. You're going to pay one way or the other.
Yeah.
And you have to pick your suffering. Because, and this is Jordan Peterson, because you're going to suffer under the weight of not knowing how to do something, or you're going to suffer under the responsibility and the pain of getting something done.
Yeah.
And so, to me, when I sent my kids to counseling, when my kids are stuck, I'm not even the one that's trying to unstuck them.
Yeah.
If they're really unstuck, it's go see whatever. Go see a transformation center person. Go see, for guys, if you're like, my son needs a whole reframing, for my husband needs men that he can run, it's BraveCo. It's do 12 months. If you're stuck in pornography, it's the transformation center. We have an addictions course. It's really good. I mean, guys who've been, we have an addictions program. Guys who have been addicted, girls who have been addicted to alcohol and sexual addictions, they're getting completely well.
So good.
Does it cost? Yeah, it costs. How much does your freaking addiction cost you?
A lot.
Like a lot.
Like a lot. Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying to everybody here. Like, probably the thing that's keeping you from your breakthrough isn't the knowledge. It's our inability, or your inability, to really crack down and go, I'm going to do the work.
Yeah.
Your willingness. And it's not because you're lazy. Most of you, it's because you don't have a good system, right?
Yeah.
So read Tiny Habits. That'll help you. But the other side of it is no one taught you the value and how to invest in your future. It's like all of us would be wealthy if we were brought up in a culture of wealth, because we'd all know how to invest in real estate. We'd all know how to manage our money. We'd all know how to, but when it comes to emotional, mental, physical, spiritual health, we can get there. You guys can get to a place of like full, whether you've lived a life of trauma or not, you have to be willing to invest in yourself and do stuff that you haven't done before. Book an appointment, read the book, do it with a group. You're way more do group therapy here. Read a book with your best friend, and then create some timelines and goals. So, anyways.
It's excellent. We have 2 minutes left.
But we could go a little bit over.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one last question.
Sure.
You think we could?
Yeah.
Okay. It says, my adult son wants to sleep with his girlfriend in our home. We have said no. He holds it against us. Should we compromise?
I love this.
Yeah?
Yeah, I
Tell
do.
us.
I love it because as a parent, we get so used to saying yes and no instead of what will happen and why.
It's profound.
Yeah. So what's the long-term effects of sleeping? Two things. What's the long-term effects of me violating my conscience as a parent? And what's the long-term effects of you sleeping with your girlfriend outside of marriage?
Yeah.
If you taught your kids that you don't sleep with a girl till she's married because it's sin, then I'm sure he's frustrated.
Yeah.
But if he actually understands what happens emotionally, mentally, physically, why it's important to withhold, what that does to building confidence in your life, what it does to building trust in a relationship. See, here's what he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand how to build trust in a marriage and trust in a relationship. And he doesn't understand that delayed gratifications in his life is one of the best ways to build his life. It's also one of the only ways that she'll know if she could really trust him in marriage. Yeah. And he doesn't fully understand, isn't convinced that building trust in marriage before you get married is one of the best things that you can ever do. And he doesn't understand that 40% of marriages are going to end in divorce. And divorce is something he's going to have to pay for his whole entire life. But he can mitigate that risk. He can mitigate that if he just can stick to his core values. He doesn't even have to have the same exact core values as you. But see, if he's willing to violate your core values, then surely he's willing to violate her core values, because his values are the only ones that are important to him.
Wow, that's profound.
And so you start to go into listen, when you are willing to push past everyone else's boundaries to get your way, it says more about you than it does me.
Wow.
Because that level of selfishness, self-centeredness, self-seeking, that actually makes for a miserable life. That doesn't make for a happy, healthy life. And I don't care if you're a Christian or non-Christian, this is the truth. When you live a life of self-seeking, you should allow me to do what I want to do in your home because it's what I want to do. That leads to a life of pain and discomfort. I'm unwilling to set you up for that, son.
Wow.
Unwilling to do it. I'm also unwilling to look at myself in the mirror and to violate my conscience every day, believing that I'm setting you down a path of destruction. So, if you want to carry the burden and the weight and the responsibility of violating the culture and violating the values that I brought you up with, which I'm not even saying shame on you, I'm saying that's something you're going to have to answer for. And knowing that this isn't the best way to build trust in a relationship. And if this goes to marriage, if that's what you're justifying, we're going to be married, this is the worst way to start out a marriage. Because you can't start out a marriage and create a healthy foundation by going, I will learn how to restrain myself. I will learn how to restrain my temptations. I will learn how to put my needs aside to meet other people's needs once I'm married. It's the worst, hardest place to learn these lessons. So your son is building a foundation for his marriage that is rooted in selfishness and rooted in instant gratification. And he's going to get reap the the consequences for that. So all marriages, all life is a big math equation. That's all it is. In some grace from God. But the rest of it is a math equation. My wife trusts me because I delay my gratification. My wife trusts me because I take ownership. My wife believes that I am worthy of love because I treat myself like I'm worthy of love. My wife, Lauren, believes that she can be open and vulnerable because I treat her like that. I handle her mistakes. I take ownership from it. It's just a big math equation. Yeah. This plus this equals this. And your son is not going to outlive, outmaneuver the odds. He's not going to beat that. But we think that we are when we're young. See, the other thing that he has to understand is that when we're young, our frontal lobe isn't fully developed. Yeah. And so we don't do cause and effect very well. And he's not actually thinking from a place of cause and effect like you are at 40 or 50 or 60, where you are able to do the correct math. They don't do that. That's why, young people are way more prone to be in car accidents or way more prone to jump off bridges and do stupid things. It's because they don't actually think rationally all the way through it. And so you have to help him think through that. And I'll tell you, if you can't have this conversation with him this honestly if you don't love him and if it's not full of compassion. But I started having these kinds of conversations with my kids when they were really young. Why do you go to bed at 8 o'clock instead of 10, Elijah? I had that conversation with him at 11 years old. Why do you have to have a bedtime? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the science behind it. Let's talk about what happens if you can't regulate your emotions well. Let's talk about if you don't get to sleep early enough, and then what happens in the morning. And I'm putting you on for, like, we got to get out of just saying yes and no. I'm the parent, you're the kids, and really have real reasons.
So good.
Yeah.
Man, that was profound. That was just packed full. It was so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Guys, y'all are awesome. And thanks so much for sticking it out for 2 hours and listening to Allie and I. Hopefully this added value to your life, and hopefully, what you came here for with the School of Transformation was, what you expected.
Yeah.
We have a couple other, I don't even know what we've done, but we did a School of
Emotional
health,
spiritual health.
and they're equally as good.
Yeah.
Like if you went, wow, this was really good. Our School of Emotional Health was phenomenal. And our School of Spiritual Health was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like we don't do things halfway.
No, excellent.
Yeah.
So good. And don't forget that you have 2 sessions that you can book at the Transformation Center for a discounted price
No way.
if you attended this. I know. We just have gifts all around, gifts and surprises everywhere.
Yeah, so use those. I mean,
Yeah.
use those, use them up. Come expecting, come looking to really grow yourself. And in this season, like, I want to encourage you guys, because most of you are on here asking questions to grow.
Yeah.
Set yourself up for success by really asking yourself, where do I want to be 2 months from now? Okay, then back that up. What do I need to do today to get to that? So don't be like, oh, I'm going to book an appointment. When are you going to book an appointment? Like, when are you going to sit down to look at your calendar too? Because we just don't, right?
Right. I'll get to that when I'm in a crisis.
Yeah. Lauryn Hill, who's a singer, said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I believe that. Like when I look at my life, I don't execute good in my life because I don't pick a time. I don't pick a place. I leave it for a suggestion. I leave it for like, somehow I'm going to fall into this great, awesome life. You're not.
Yeah.
So all of us, who you listen to teach, Danny, myself, the psychologist, Bill, we're practicing what we preach.
Yeah.
We're sitting down and going, okay, what's 2 months going to look like from now? If your marriage is suffering, 2 months from now, what could it look like if you put effort, energy, work in it? Get the Boundaries book, get Danny's course, whatever. If you have a hard connection with yourself or your kids, what would it look like for you to sit down and take the first step? Whatever the first step is, we gave a ton of tools. So I want to encourage you guys to do that.
Yeah. So encouraging. So encouraging and inspiring.
Yeah.
I really hope everyone feels so filled with hope after 3 days of diving deep into this stuff. And we see a lot of questions coming in about the discount code. You'll get an email tomorrow with more information of how you can book those appointments and sign up for your discounted appointments at the Transformation Center.
Yeah, it's super simple.
Yeah,
so guys, tomorrow morning, when you wake up, after you had your coffee, open the email and ask yourself, do I need an appointment?
Yeah.
If you don't, awesome.
Yeah.
If you do, book it.
When can I pencil that in?
So easy.
Yeah.
If you book it, if you just start the process, we'll take you through the rest.
It's so good.
Yeah.
How about you pray for everyone watching today?
All right, here we go. Put your hands over your ears. No, I'm just kidding. Father, thank you for each person. Lord, I thank you that you care for everyone. Lord, you care for the people that are just feel so hopeless. This was like their last hope. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. It's just like no one's ever understood me, or I've been in this hard place for a really long time. Like, Lord, you care, and you've given a clear path of connection and hope and tools. And Lord, but I ask God that you'd give that extra boost, that you would give an incredible amount of hope, or that you break hopelessness off. Lord, the testimony, even that I told starting out about the kids who are in drug rehab, Lord, you sent me all the way to a drug rehab across the country because you cared for those kids. Lord, do it again for each person on here. Do it again for each person on here, Lord. Would you bring them to a place where they don't lack anything? And Lord, for those people that have been grinding away for a long time, I ask, Lord, that you would break through, Lord, that they would get a breakthrough this week. Like they've been practicing and doing the tools and it just hasn't quite clicked. Lord, that things would click in their brain, that it would become easier. And Lord, that you would bless them. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to the BraveCo podcast. If you like this podcast, would you please rate it, review it, leave us a great comment. And if you like this episode in particular, share it with your friends and family. That helps us to spread the word. Guys, stay brave. We'll see you next week.